Welcome back, and this time on I Make Beer, we're doing a clone of Other Half's All Nelson Everything. We have a Other Half brewery not too far from where I live in the Rochester area. It's actually down in Bloomfield near the Canandaigua Lake. I tried their All Nelson Everything maybe 2 months ago. I'm sure I had it before because I've been to the brewery several times and I've had most of their beers, but for some reason this particular beer that I was drinking really stood out. When I realized it was the Nelson Sauvin hops, I decided that I'm going to make a beer like this. Double IPA, dry hopped, only Nelson Sauvin hops. So I came up with a recipe. We're calling it It's Just Nelson. This is going to be a 2.5 gallon batch, 3 gallon basically. So we're starting out with 5.5 gallons of distilled water. We are using Maris Otter and Two Row, and I'm using 41.9% and 41.9%. So my batch is 4 pounds, 14.9 ounces for both of those additions. And then I'm using about 13 ounces of carafoam, 13 ounces of wheat malt. This was actually, I believe, I originally designed this to use flaked wheat. I think it was flaked wheat. I didn't have any, and I forgot to order it. I did have some wheat malt, so I used that. Also, I'm adding 4 ounces of Caramel Crystal 60. So the Nelson Sauvin additions, the hops that I used were 10.5% alpha acid. In this recipe, I also decided to do a mash hop. I added 0.6 ounces of the Nelson Sauvin hops right into the mash, mashed it for 60 minutes, did my mash out, and then started the boil. At the 60-minute mark of the boil, for a 60-minute boil, I added then 0.75 ounces of those hops. At 15 minutes, I added an ounce of those hops. I then did a whirlpool with a full ounce of those hops again. I used Safe Ale English Ale, SO4, for this recipe. And then I dry hopped the recipe with 2 ounces of the Nelson Sauvin hops. So my original gravity should be around 1084. It should finish out at 1021 and resulting in an 8.5% beer. The IBUs are going to be about 85 and colors 9.1 SRM. So, like I said, sort of came up with a recipe by making some assumptions on what they were doing when they make their beer. They don't really have much of a descriptor on their website in regards to their recipe formulation or when they're adding hops or anything like that. So I went over to Other Half's webpage, and the All Nelson Everything, they do not list the IBUs. They just list the ABV at 8.5. Untapped has the IBUs at 0, so we know that's wrong. Most likely it's because it's not listed anywhere. I don't have a can of the beer currently, so I can't look on the can to see if there's IBUs listed on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this beer. Like I said before, you guys like and subscribe. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully you guys are enjoying my videos. We will get to brewing this, and then we'll be doing some tasting. And hopefully this will come out as well as the Other Half beer that I had before I decided to make this beer. So we'll see you in a little bit. See ya. We started out the day with milling our grains. And this is the first time I've done a hop mash. So we added our hops right into the mash,
or into the grain. And then we mashed in. We mashed in at 152, and then I lowered the temperature down to 150. And after approximately 10 minutes of mashing, I took a pH. Our pH was at 5.5. And after a 60-minute mash, we mashed out at 168. I then lifted the grain basket. I let that drain for approximately 15 minutes. And we got ready to boil. And I also took our gravity reading. Our pre-boil gravity was at a 1.060. Once we started boil, we did our first addition of hops. And that was at 60 minutes, right at the beginning of the boil. Our second addition of hops was at 15 minutes, and also added our yeast nutrient and Werflock tablet at that time. Then we cooled the wort. I did this just by recirculating it back into the kettle, and then I did a chill through the plate chiller into the fermenter. So we're filling the fermenter. Our gravity at this point was 1.082. And then about 2 days prior to the end of what I believe was going to be the end of fermentation, I added another 2 ounces of the Nelson Sauvin hops. And then after I did that, I purged the fermenter as best I could with some CO2, and then continued on with the fermentation process.
So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the brewing process. We're going to get into the tasting right now. Little heads up on this one. This one's a 9%, and today it's over 90 out. And I've been outside working on a project I have outside, and so it's hot as balls. So this beer is definitely not one you want when it's 90 some odd degrees out. It's not that crushable, but we're going to review it anyways because it did turn out really good. So let's just go through a couple of the stats. So for a double IPA, the IBU should be between 60 and 100 for a double I just said that, double IPA. This one came out at actually 85. So the SRMs are supposed to be between 6 and 14, and this is 9.1, but we'll go with 9. Initial gravity should be between 1065 and 1085. Mine ended up being 1082. My initial gravity. Final gravity should be between 1008 and 1018. And mine finished up at 1015. Yes, 1015. And as I said, ABV is 9% in mine, and the range is supposed to be 7.5 to 10. So we're within all that range. When I decided to make this one, I had and I said earlier, but I had the other halves, Everything Nelson, and this one is called It's Just Nelson. It's clearing up a little bit better. I forgot to put gelatin in this when I kegged it, so it didn't clear up as well as it probably could have, but it's still clearing up pretty well. It's been maybe a week and a half. The only thing is this one's been going fast. I've given some away, and I've been drinking it. So we got through the stats. This actually fermented for 20 days. We started back on May 22nd, and it finished up on June 11th. So I had a good 20 days of fermentation. That included my cold crash time. It fermented pretty quickly. I would have to say very quickly. It fermented out. It pretty much plateaued, I believe, within 4 to 5 days. So this one went pretty quick. So this was a 2.5 gallon batch. This time of year, 9% beers, I'm not going to make a full 5 gallons because I'm not going to get through them fast enough. Also, I did run into one problem with this one, and that was when I was kegging it. I typically would put a little head pressure in my fermenter, and I used one of my fermenters that has a conical. And as I was trying to, when I opened up the ball valve in the bottom to allow the beer to flow into the keg, I couldn't get it to come out. The trub was actually so high from dry hopping that it was above the inlet. So it actually just could not suck. I tried blowing CO2 back into it to try and clear it out, but the trub had sat, it was like the spigot's like here and the trub is like up here. So no matter what I did, it was just sucking trub. So I actually had to open up the top of the fermenter and put a hose in to siphon, and I ended up just siphoning it into the keg, which I'm not a fan of. Exposes a lot of oxygen to it, but I purged the keg. I'm hoping that enough CO2 was floating in the bottom of that keg and it purged the oxygen out. And I did the same with the fermenter. So hopefully we eliminated a lot of the oxygen. I'm not getting any oxygenation from this batch. So I think I did pretty good on keeping that out. From now on, I am going to be just using the Fermzilla for beers that I'm going to be doing some heavy dry hopping. The next beer I have coming up is heavily dry hopped. So at least then I can remove the trub from the collection jar and then purge it. And then when I'm dry hopping, I also purge it. I also will add the dry hops into the collection jar, purge that with CO2, put a little pressure on that. And when you open up the butterfly valve, the hops just fly up into the beer. So onward. So let's get into some of the taste, let's get into aroma. As you notice, my nose is a little charred up here. And also I've been outside. I'm wearing a hat. I never wear hats, but my hair is like messed up. So definitely getting the huge amount of hop aroma off of this. I love these Nelson Sauvin hops. You're getting citrus, and you're getting just a hint of wine, and that's what these hops are sort of known for, I guess we'll say. We'll get into the appearance. So it's a golden. We'll say it's a little darker than gold, still a little hazy. I don't know if you can see it over here on this one. Still got some haze to it, but it's looking pretty good. I forget this camera's here. But appearance is good. As I said, the color is in the ballpark, so we're good with that. Give it a taste. Yeah, you're getting a lot of that citrus. This has got some bitterness to it. So it is you got some bitterness to this. The initial 60-minute hop edition added 41.8 IBUs, and then the 15-minute edition of the Nelson Sauvin hops added 36.2. So definitely getting some bitterness out of this one. And then I also did a Whirlpool edition, and then, as I said, we also dry hop this. So you're getting a lot of hop aroma, hop flavor, but you're getting that nice big bite out of it too. So I brought this one to work the other day. Had a couple people try it, and I had one individual saying, there's something there. I can't pinpoint what that flavor is. And I go, try wine. And immediately she said, yes, that's what it was. I ended up giving it to somebody else. The same thing. He's just like, there's something there. I can't pinpoint what that flavor is. And it's not something that you come across in a lot of IPAs. You don't get a wine flavor out of your beer, but this has just got that hint of a wine flavor to it. And it actually is really, really good. I love these Nelson Sauvin hops. So we're getting some citrus. We're getting that wine. I think it's supposed to be a white wine. I don't have the descriptor right here in front of me in regards to the hops, but we'll get into mouthfeel. Very smooth, very velvety. It's got a nice feel texture to it. Carbonation's good. It's not overly carbonated. I mean, if you probably saw the little video part, you know, it's sort of foamed up and over the top, but it dissipates out pretty quickly. But the lacing is nice. I've been doing that gradual cold crash pretty much on all the beers now. If you've seen a couple of videos back, I had started gradually cold crashing my beers instead of just initially just put it down to 34 degrees and let it crash out fast. So this usually takes around 3 to 4 days to actually get from fermentation temperature to cold crash temperature. But it does leave a nice head and it laces up really nice. So, as I said, I got a big project I'm trying to get done outside. I wanted to get this video done, so I'm sort of probably rushing this a little bit, but you know, I got to get back to work and, you know, work on this sunburn on my nose because, you know, it needs to be done a little bit more. But we got another one coming up. The other beer that's coming up is another beer that's going to be inspired by a craft beer. So it's actually going to be a beer I've never had, so I'm really not going to be able to compare it to anything. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching the channel, giving me some likes, and subscribing. I appreciate that you do that for me. So we'll finish this up. Cheers to a double IPA. It's just Nelson. And we'll catch you later. Peace, guys.